Good morning on this very chilly fall morning. I absolutely love it. I love fall. It's my favorite season, as long as I'm bundled up. Welcome to Eastrose Fellowship, Unitarian Universalist, everyone online, and also here in the chapel. Welcome, first-time visitors. We are very glad you're here. This service will be mentioning several holidays and holy days in these readings. I'm the Reverend Suzie Matranga-Watson, your worship leader this morning, and member Therese Langevin. Langevin. See, I've been butchering her name all along. I didn't even know it. Well, presenting the message on the pagan festival of Samhain. Teresa joined Eastrose in 2017 and found all of you. A community of support, this is her words, a community to support me in parenting my son Anthony, who's more fun than a barrel of monkeys. I call myself a witch. I try to live by my values. On good days, I embrace my flaws. Nice. The best place is to be here. The best time is now. And that is from Bill and Ted. It's what you do in the next 10 minutes that really matters. And that's from her. That's her quote. Okay, you can sit down. Okay. Nobody threw anything at you or anything. Yay. Or me.
No loud guffaws?
Yes. For our online guests, if you would like to share a joy or sorrow during this portion of the service, you can do so by entering in the YouTube chat, and those will be shared with everyone. I also encourage you to identify yourself in the chat so we may better acknowledge your presence with us today. Our land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge that for at least 13,000 years, many tribes and bands have made their lives here, where our church home and our communities now exist. We remember and honor these people who have made their homes on this land, the ones who are here now, and the ones who used to be. We gather remembering this is our home, but just not ours. It is everyone's. In peace, may we share this land and honor one another. My welcoming words are in celebration of Halloween, and I share these words. No matter who you are or what you are welcome here. Now let's be clear. Here we welcome goblins, ghouls, saints and sinners, angels and devils, zombies and werewolves, vampires and witches. We welcome princesses and princes, paupers and farmhands, aliens and astronauts, robots and cyborgs, firefighters and police officers, nurses and doctors, cowboys, cowgirls, and cowfolk of all varieties. We welcome Superman, Wonder Woman, Black Panther, Batman, Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Thor. Indeed, we welcome both our superheroes and our superstars. In short, we welcome people, monsters, and all other manner of creatures. Here we welcome you all, and whatever you are. Let us begin. It's now time to take a moment and greet everyone with us today. But first, let's stand, face the cameras that are in the back by the clock, and wave hello to our online attendees. And then let us greet each other here in the sanctuary. After the service, we will have some goodies and coffee and tea back in the Thatcher room, and you can talk and share more. Call to worship. We gathered this morning as one community united by common ideals: love, justice, diversity, freedom, mutual care, and equity. Yet look around. Look at the faces of those around you. Every one of us with our own story, needs, strengths, and faults. We are gathered here honoring connection and the uniqueness that lives within each one of us. Let us worship.
Our prelude is the Addams Family theme song, so please snap your fingers right time, and if you know the words, sing along. These are no verse. There's one, but no one knows this one. No one knows this one. Can you sing it? So get a witch's straw on, a broomstick you can crawl on. We're gonna make a call on the Addams Family.
I am so impressed that people can snap because I can't at all. The chalice lighting this morning, the reading is in honor of All Souls. As we kindle this flame, we honor and remember those who have passed on to this mystery. Their brightness lives in our vision. Their courage lives in our commitments. And their love continues to bless the world through us. Thank you, Therese. Opening words are, gather we now in this space, this time when the wheel turns and the veil shatters. Gather we now to remember, to grieve, to prophesize, to complete our harvests before the long dark comes. Gather we now to tell the old stories and sing the old songs, to be as we have always been, the voice of our people eternal. Gather we now to celebrate that which was, that which is, and that which will be. Gather we now as we have always done, united by story and bound by love. The opening hymn is number 73, and it will be on the screen. And it is broken up in 4 seasons, and we're going to be singing just for autumn. And we will sing the hymn twice. And please stand if you're willing and able. Now is the time for all ages, story for all ages.
Okay. So, who here has ever been afraid of the dark? I think that's a natural fear to have. The darkness is something that we don't know, we can't see. So today's story is about a boy who encounters a guide who guides him through the darkness, and he learns that there's not always something to be afraid of there. Who Loves the Dark by Sherry Philibom. There was once a child who got lost in the woods. As night began to descend, the child became more and more frightened. I'm sure any of us would be frightened in that situation. But what made this child even more frightened was that he had always been afraid of the dark. He was more afraid of the dark than any of his friends or siblings. He didn't know why. He only knew that when the sun went down, he was always very glad to be inside his brightly lit house. When the sun was all the way down and the only light was just a tiny bit of light from the moon and the stars, the child got so frightened, all he could do was sit down and cry, which he did. Soon he heard a voice say, "What's all that racket?" He looked down and saw a mole squinting up at him.
That looks like a real life mole.
"I'm lost in the woods," he said. "It's dark and I'm afraid." "Well," said the mole, "perhaps you could take your noisy crying farther down the path. I hate having to come out of my warm, comfortable, dark hole to tell people to be quiet." Then the child heard another voice. "Go on back to your hole, Mr. Mole. I'll take care of this." The child looked up in the direction that this voice seemed to come from, and in the darkness he could see two glowing eyes looking down at him. Before he could scream, which was his first impulse, there was a flutter of wings and the creature flew down near him. He could see it was an owl who said, "Please excuse Mr. Mole. He hates to come out of his nice dark hole for anything, to be honest." At this, the child burst out crying harder than before, because as frightened as he was of the dark, having non-human animals speak to him was beyond his experience and a little frightening in itself. "No need for that crying," said the owl. "If you just give me your address, I can guide you home." With that, the child did indeed stop crying, partly out of relief that somebody might be able to lead him home, and partly out of curiosity as to how an owl could find his home with or without an address. But deciding he had little to lose, the child choked back his tears and replied that he would be very grateful to be guided home, and gave the owl his address. And I hope everyone here has their home address memorized in case you ever have to have an owl guide you home. So this strange pair headed off through the dark forest, and what the child hoped was truly the direction of his home. When his fear left him just a little bit, the child looked around, and though the moonlight was dim, he began to notice his surroundings a bit. At one point, he noticed a kind of flower that he had never seen before, and slowed his pace a little so he could gaze at it. "That," said the owl as they continued walking, "was an evening primrose. Did you know that there are some flowers that bloom only at night? There are moonflowers and night gladiolas, flowers you would never see if you never went out at night." After a while, the owl said, as if musing aloud to herself, "Of course, there are animals, too, who love the night and the darkness. Me, for example. I love the dark. In the daytime, the light hurts my eyes. That's when I like to go to my tree and sleep." To this, the boy replied, "Well, I like the daytime. I can see to kick a ball. I like the hot sun at the beach. When the dark isn't scary, it's boring." "Boring, you say," replied the owl, and she clearly had some opinions on this point. But just then there was a fluttering and a squeaking around their heads. It took the child just a few seconds to figure out what it was, and he shrieked, "A bat!" And he started flailing his arms to knock the creature away, shrieking the whole time. The shape backed away and, hovering just out of reach, said, "Excuse me, that's just my way of saying hello." "Well, hello to you, Mr. Bat," said the owl. "This child was out here lost in the forest, and I'm helping him find his way home. You're not hurt, are you?" "Well," said the bat, "I'll probably have a bruise on my backside, but I think I'll live." "But you're a bat," said the child, "a creature of darkness. Weren't you trying to drink our blood?" "No," said the bat, "but I have been eating lots of yummy insects who would have been biting you if I hadn't been around. Anyway, I couldn't help overhearing what you said about darkness being boring. If you want to come just a little bit out of your way, I can show you something really exciting." "My parents always told me to never go any place with strangers," said the child. "Owl will vouch for me," said the bat. "We've known each other for years and years." Owl agreed that Mr. Bat was indeed an upstanding citizen, so the group went off the path and traveled through the deepest forest for what seemed like just a few minutes, and they came out onto a dark beach. "Here we are," said the bat. The child gazed out at the beach, lit very gently by moonlight, and thought, "This is certainly beautiful, even in the dark, but I wouldn't call it exciting." Just then there was movement in the sand, like a little bubble of sand rising up. Then there was another little bubble, and another, and it looked almost as if the beach in the area they were looking at were boiling. Then, out of one of those little bubbles of sand popped a rounded shape. "Looks like we got here at just the right time," said the bat. As they watched, more and more shapes came up out of the sand, and soon the child realized what he was seeing. Lots of baby turtles, hundreds, climbing out of the sand. This was truly exciting. Once the turtle shape pulled itself up out of the sand, it started crawling as fast as it could toward the water. "When baby sea turtles hatch," said Owl in a sort of teacherly voice, "they need to find their way to the water, and they almost always do this at nighttime, because to find the water, they need darkness everywhere to follow the moon and starlight reflecting on the water. Daytime sunlight is too bright and scattered everywhere." "Oh," said the child. As they turned to leave and head back toward the child's home, Owl spoke again, as if thinking aloud to herself. "You know who else loves the darkness, besides all the nighttime plants and animals? The moon and the stars love the darkness. That's when they really can shine. Oh, they're there in the daytime as well, hidden behind a wall of light. But when that wall goes down with the sun, the stars and the moon reveal their beauty." After what seemed like a very short time, the child and Owl left the forest and walked down a street that the child recognized as his own. He was very happy and relieved, but also a little sad to say goodbye to Owl, to whom he gave a very gentle hug and a thank you. He went into his home and, being extremely tired, got ready for bed right away. Before he went to bed, as a matter of habit, he bent down to turn on the nightlight that he always kept glowing through the night to keep the dark at bay. But before his fingers touched the switch of the nightlight, he smiled and pulled his hand away. He got into his bed, pulled up the covers, and let the comforting arms of the darkness soothe him to sleep. And that's the end. So now the grown-ups are going to stay in here and they're going to talk about the holiday Samhain, and we're going to go back to our classroom and also talk about the fall holidays.
So will the people on the end line hold hands, and we will be singing As You Go, and this will be a bridge for the children. We hold you in our love as you I'm going to ask that we close our eyes for a moment. This is the time in autumn that leaves are changing, the nights are getting colder. The season of Samhain and even Thanksgiving and Halloween and All Souls is all around us. This is the time that we carry the people that have died in our hearts. The veil is closer and honoring them. And this is also the time for us to renew ourselves in a way of letting ourselves be. Sometimes we go, and autumn is a wonderful time to just enjoy the outside and each other and our time to be quiet. The song we will sing as we will stay seated is called We All Come from the Goddess, and it will be on the screen.
I'm going to play it one time through.
We will sing it 3 times. We're going to do a responsive reading, and the yellow will be what I say, and it'll be this half of the congregation. And the white words will, and Therese will lead that, will be that side of the congregation. Okay. They once dwelled among us, the people of memory.
They who knew us, they who taught us, they who heard us, they who loved us.
As the earth turns and the leaves fall, we reach back to renew the bonds between us.
With hearts and hands open, we hold on to love, ever stronger than death.
We reach back in gratitude and understanding, without our time together, the pain and the joy.
We would never be who we are today. We would have little to pass on ourselves.
Without fear, with thanksgiving, and with hope for all that awaits.
We remember those who have gone before. We honor the circle of life and death, and our place within this sacred thread.
Thank you.
At this time, the veil between the land of the living and the land of the dead is at its thinnest. And I put together a SOW-in experience, which is the story of Inanna, who was a Sumerian goddess. She went to the underworld and then came back. And this is just, it's a presentation. It's a project. I won't be speaking. I will be watching it though, as you are. So John, if you could get that started. I started using an online platform called Second Life. I learned to build with 3D objects called primitives and add textures and particles and scripts. I transformed virtual land into gardens and woodland streams with waterfalls and pools. I made art galleries and space stations and cottages on the moor with content that other creators developed. I have 2 avatars in Second Life, Mercy Blue Moorsider and C. Metaluna. I was surprised by how much I connected emotionally with these little cartoons. They usually wear fairy ears with tips that glow, antlers, brown skins. Sometimes they have wings. They wear huge grungy boots. My avatars are way skinnier than me, and they love to dance to electronic music at raves. Metaluna and Moorsider is the name I use now for my creative projects. And so, Metaluna and Moorsider present a SOW-in experience, Inanna's terrible descent to the underworld and her excellent return. Inanna's descent to the underworld, her terrible descent, the oldest story and the freshest still. People kept this story in memory for thousands of years. Without written words, the people remembered. Before the Iliad, before the Odyssey, before the Edda, before the Bible. The first hero was a goddess of Sumer. She passed through 7 gates, 7 doorways to get to the realm of the dead. 7 gates, 7 doorways. 7 is a fairy tale number, not cast in stone, but let's say there are 7. In this story from maybe 7,000 years ago, at each gate, Inanna is asked to give up something. In the story from Sumer, she surrenders her jewels and her garments one by one. In the story from Sumer, she ends up naked, everything stripped away, facing her angry sister who is queen of the dead. There are soap opera details and metaphors galore. There are other stories of descent and return, other journeys there and back again. But when we filter through all the versions of this tale, what remains is the passage through, the surrendering, and the return. Samhain is the proper season to journey to the land of the dead. The boundaries between worlds are at their thinnest. The harvest is complete. John Barleycorn is dead. From seed to fruit to rotting compost, Demeter says goodbye to Persephone once more. We build bonfires and bob for apples. We dress as demons and ghosts, superheroes and witches, vampires and Wednesday Addams. We remember our beloved dead and picnic among the graves. It's a good time to consider Inanna's descent. We can follow in her footsteps, down the unknown path, down the dark ladder, down the steep staircase into the unknown. So Inanna arrives at the first gate. The first gate is just a tickle at the edge of thought. 1 minute, all is well. You're just fine, living a perfectly comfortable life, everything in the proper order. No reason for change. And then, an itch. A picture hanging slightly crooked. A few drops of coffee spilled on the counter to wipe up. A tiny weed to pull in the garden. There's something not quite right. The first gate waits for you. The first gate has waited a long time. The first gate is patient. It will outwait you. It will outwit you if you try to ignore it. But when you're finally ready, you get off the couch, out from under the covers of your cozy bed. You stand up from the rocker on the porch. You turn left instead of right on your drive to work. You pause and remain silent instead of saying, "Fine," with a smile. You think to yourself, there could be something else, something other. And this is how you pass through the gate of "it's all good." Joe Campbell names it the call to adventure. The impatient wizard at the door. You let go of knowing what comes next. You let go of comfortable certainty. Tarot numbers and names card 0, the fool, taking a chance, stepping onto the road, inches from the edge of the cliff with a little dog yipping at your heels. What Inanna surrenders first is going from what's settled into what's not, going into the wild. The second gate Let's call it the things you leave behind. Possessions, the phone, the car, the riding lawnmower, the flat-screen TV, the christening dress worn by 4 generations, the guitar, your wedding photos, your favorite coffee cup. We could go on, but if you go on, you must go empty-handed. You can't carry any of it. And on your way, a light bulb burns out in the stairwell. The steps are uneven. The ladder feels rickety. Some rungs are missing. The path becomes narrow and starts to drop down. There are rocks and roots, and it's harder to see as you go deeper and deeper, down and down and down. And you trip and fall, skin your knees, the palms of your hands, twist your ankle. You grow dizzy. You feel sick to your stomach, soaked by rain, scratched by thorns and branches, aching, cold, tired. What you surrender next at this third gate, let's call it the illusion of control, the ridiculous notion that you are in charge of your life. You're calling the shots. That victim made a mistake, but you would know better. It would never happen to you. You let go of safety, strength, immunity, your health, all traded in for tears, nausea, incontinence, cuts, bruises, serious wounds. Gate the 4th is deep, deep doubt, confusion, disorientation, and dread. You made a huge mistake. This was a terrible idea, this trip. You realize that now and you try to backtrack, but the path is too steep, too muddy and slippery, and you are so tired you can't even think. You no longer have the strength to climb back up. There's nothing to grab onto. You're losing your grip. At the 4th gate, you surrender all your hopes, all your dreams. You try bargaining. You try to make a deal. But there's no one to bargain with, and you're no longer playing with a full deck. This is the gate where faith falls away. With nothing to turn to, you can't turn back now. And you go on to the 5th gate. The 5th gate is your people, human connection, your family, your friends, those you've loved and those who've loved you. You can't hear their voices or picture their faces. No sunlight, no candlelight, no warm embraces, no inside jokes, no shared grief or shared laughter, no chicken soup for anyone's soul, no mac and cheese, even though you are so desperately hungry for love, so empty. But who could love you, and why would they, when you can't even remember them? Nobody cares about crazy people. It's cold. It's dark. You stumble along down the steps, deeper and deeper and deeper, profoundly alone. At the 6th gate, you lose yourself, no longer sure of who you are or what you were. Even your name drifts away from your body, a wisp of fog, a ghost, unnoticed, unremembered, uninvited. How do you know you are you without your name, without your memories, without your people, without your certainty, without your things, without your routines? You can't find your keys. You can't find your glasses. You can't find the door into the kitchen. You can't find your way home. Gate number 7, the last gate, the final gate, is awareness. This is the blackout gate. Sight dissolves, spiraling into color and pattern, and then everything darkens until it's gone. Everything is gone. Everything gone. Inanna's sister is the queen of the underworld, Ereshkigal. She's not happy to see Inanna for reasons having to do with death and blame. She orders her minions to kill Inanna and hang her bloody bare corpse on the gates of the land of the dead. Inanna allows it. 5,000 years before people began to tell the Christian story of the crucifixion, the Queen of Heaven allowed herself to be stripped of everything and executed. Is she the hanged one surrendering? Is she the tower destroyed by lightning? Is she the 10 of swords stabbed through and through? What happens at this final portal, this last gate? You could call it ego death. The self dissolves into the field. It's the final release. Everything and nothing. Stop here. Think about your terrible journey. Everything you have given up to get here. This is the end, friend. Maybe you wonder, why have you worked so hard, gone through so much pain and loss, struggled and suffered to get here, if this is how it turns out? Why did people keep this story for thousands of years when it seems so bleak and full of despair? What's the point? There's a good reason cliches endure. Everyone knows the night is always darkest before the dawn. Of course there's an act 2. And so, from the void, something begins to coalesce in the field. Particles begin to assemble. Order grows from entropy. Some kind of organized form. Something with an inside distinguished from an outside. You. And your journey reverses. You pass back through the gate of awareness. What do you pay attention to? What do you ignore? Sensations of need and discomfort, and then discomfort resolves in relationship with another. You reach and grasp, and the world reacts. You know yourself. As you pass through the gate of identity, how are you different now? What do you choose to pick back up about yourself? And what do you leave at this gate? As you pass through the gate of your people, what relationships are truly gone? What relationships resume? Are there others you trust? Others who trust you? Do you have helpers and allies? Who do you help in turn? You pass back through gate 4, the gate of doubt. Do you find faith again? Has it changed? Have you changed? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust the world? Do you trust in your sense of who you are? What can you bear? What gives you strength? And then you pass back through the gate of the illusion of control, the third gate. What have you learned? Where do you put your energy now? Do you realize that it's what you do in this moment, in the next 10 minutes, that really matters? Maybe you understand now how the perfect can be the enemy of good enough. When you pass back through the gate of possessions, what do you gather back to yourself? What lightens your heart? What feeds your spirit? Do you leave behind all that stuff that just accumulated when you weren't really paying attention? What do you let go of for good? Eventually, you pass back through the gate of "it's all good." How do you find the everyday commonplace world? Your porch, your sofa, your garage, your cozy bed. What has changed? Are you really back home? In all the stories, when you return to the world, you are not the same and you are not empty-handed. The past is just history, and the future is still a mystery. All you have is the gift of right now, and that's why we call it the present. The point is, the gift, what did you find there? What gift do you bring back from your struggle? You know things. You can trust yourself. You can choose or reject, expect and predict, and sometimes you might even be right, or not. You can do things. Do you have strength to endure terrible loss? Do you have vision, purpose? Do you have skills and tools, will, and the desire to keep trying? You have power. In all the stories, the traveler returns to share the gift with those at home. What have you brought back to share? Samhain is the pagan New Year, the time we assess what we've learned. We clear out the garden, sort through our junk, acknowledge our losses, and we make resolutions. Is life still worth living? Can you still have toast with peanut butter, watch TV in your pajamas, or get a pizza? Kids still go to school. Adults carry on with their jobs. The news cycle still turns out distress. People still post videos of their goofy cats online. The sun still shines and the rain still falls. Babies are still being born. Can you see what human beings still do best? Can you see hope shining in the bottom of Pandora's empty box? Let's remember Inanna and her funny triangle hat as we go forward. We're riding 67,000 miles per hour on the back of Mother Earth on another trip around the sun, as the whole solar system orbits around the center of our Milky Way galaxy at 140,000 miles per second. Phew. Let's be brave and willing. Let's be hopeful. Inanna's terrible descent to the underworld, an excellent return, is dedicated to the memory of my adoptive sister, Geraldine Roberta Langevin, born June 7th, 1955, died May 2nd, 2002, at the age of 46. Rest in peace and in power. Thanks for joining Metaluna and Moresider in this story. Many talented content creators contributed to the look and feel of my Second Life avatars. Their shapes and skins, their hair, clothing, animations, tools for Second Life photography, and lots of free open source software. GIMP for graphics, Audacity for audio recording, LibreOffice for drafting the original scripts, and for the coding, Scratch from MIT's Lifelong Kindergarten Project.
It reminded me so much of what we went through with COVID and how we had to shut down and look at what was important and then come back and maybe make decisions, or maybe not. But thank you. That was pretty powerful. After the service, you may go up to Therese and talk to her about her experience of doing this, or what touched your heart or your soul. It was a little scary at times, actually, kind of like therapy. Okay, the closing hymn is number 387, Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air.
Are we having a collection? Oh.
We will do that after this hymn.
How many times you sing it through?
Yes. We will sing it through one. You will play it. Let me get it up here.
Yeah, I'm going to play it once, and it's meant to be sung a number of times.
Yes. We will sing it 4 times.
Okay.
387, and it will also be on the screen. There it is. It's very short. An offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are keepers of the dream. Sharing the bounty is our congregational offering of half the cash given each Sunday in the basket to a local organization doing good works in our area. The 4th quarter of the year, we are sharing the bounty with Just Our Future. Just Our Future partners with people and communities impacted by poverty so they can achieve long-term housing and economic security. They invest in affordable housing and community assets that contribute to strong, inclusive neighborhoods. If you are a first-time visitor, please let the basket pass you by. You are our guest today, and we will gratefully receive the gifts of this congregation. Therese will extinguish the chalice. As I say the chalice, extinguish words. As our chalice flame is extinguished this morning, we can still remember that its glow is carried within us. We can still use our inner lights and this flame to kindle new sparks throughout our lives and in the world. May the spirit of peace and togetherness bless our lives. For the benediction, In the name that is all holy, may the connections between us inspire and sustain us. May the flame of life within us and amongst us be a sacred reminder that we are all called to service, to grow, and to love as we continue this journey of transformation. Thank you, Barbara. The announcements. First, I want to thank everyone who has participated in bringing this service together. Barbara for her beautiful piano playing, Mary for her slides, John and Dakota for the AV, our greeters, Keen and Lynn, and also Keen who brought the flowers. Thank you. We also have a few more announcements. The first one is, oh, for Pete's sake. The first one is Linda, right here, is in charge of Friendship Circle dinners, and they're starting up. Next one is Saturday, November 11th. This is an in-home potluck of about 7 people, and it depends on us having hosts, first of all, and then having guests. Questions to Linda, and also she has the flyer that you can fill out for her. The other,
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
I'm trying to make it easy for Linda, too. I'm going to use your microphone.
Oh, go ahead.
John and I have signed up to host a dinner here at the church because we know there are people who cannot get into people's homes because of stairs or whatever. So if you would like to come to the potluck, you can sign up on your sign-up sheet where it says sign here to be a guest. Somewhere in there, nice and big, say at the church. And then, Linda, you'll know that those are people who need to be here. If you don't need to be here, don't write it down. If there aren't enough people who need to be here, Linda can add others to make the total number. Thank you.
Thank you. These are announcements from Cynthia. Free apples picked yesterday at her daughter's farm. Help yourself. It's in the Thatcher room, and you can have those during coffee time. Number 2, what do we do with leftover Halloween candy?
What is leftover Halloween?
If you have leftover candy, bring it in a bag and put it in the snow cap donation bin next Sunday. Winterfest is coming. How many people have done Winterfest before? Okay, for those that don't know, it is a tradition that we have held. It's had many names, but it's held for years and years and years and years. Over 30 years. And we have tea and we have possibly entertainment, and we get dressed up if you wish, and there's goodies to eat, and it's just a really nice time. Plus, people bring baked goods that they can buy, and that also goes to the church. I always make lots of banana nut bread and banana bread without nuts, but you can bring whatever you want. Anyway, so that will be coming, and it's December 2nd from 1 to 3 here. It's free, but reservations are required. Look for more information and sign-up sheets starting next week. And there will be a ceremony after church on Sunday, November 19th, to place former members Katie and Tom Tenike's ashes, along with Dean Knox's, in our Peace Garden. You are welcome to attend. Any more announcements? Okay. So, the service is ended. If you are attending online, you exit YouTube and connect with Cafe Conversations on Zoom if you wish to talk with the other people there. Those here at Eastrose, you're invited to remain, have some coffee in the back, that's your room. I think there's also some goodies, and there's also apples back there. We hope to see you next week, and bring a friend. Thank you.